Tonight, the new storm threat as we come on the air with millions still reeling from Ida. Flash flood watches up in Louisiana where 500,000 remain without power after more than a week. In New York City, the heart-pounding police body cam, the frantic rescue attempt in a flooded basement, new nursing home evacuations as questions grow about the deaths of several residents packed into a warehouse, and President Biden set to visit the Northeast disaster zone in a matter of hours. Also tonight, Labor Day COVID concerns, busy airports, large crowds at beaches, stadiums, and festivals. Will they become super spreader events, just as children go back to school? The Taliban now claiming total control of Afghanistan. 4 more Americans evacuated under secrecy, and growing outrage tonight. Planes with Americans on board said to be grounded at the airport. Our TV exclusive, her allegations put Bill Cosby behind bars. Now, for the first time since his conviction was overturned, she's breaking her silence. This just in, NBC News learning actor Michael K. Williams, star of The Wire, has died. What we're learning. Caught on camera, the 3-year-old lost for days in the wilderness, found alive. And remembering a beloved member of the NBC family, Al Roker's tribute to the legendary Willard Scott.
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
Good evening. I'm Tom Yamas in for Lester. Tonight, growing questions about how so many died from the powerful remnants of Hurricane Ida. And the new images coming in. What police were up against when they tried to rescue a family trapped in a basement apartment. Water everywhere, children's toys floating on the surface, and zero visibility underwater. The family, like so many in basement apartments here, did not make it out alive. And there are new fears right now in the South. A new flash flood watch issued in and around New Orleans, with some areas facing up to 4 inches of more rain. 500,000 residents there are still without power in the scorching heat. All of this as the death toll continues to climb, especially in the Northeast, where President Biden is set to visit. And it's where we start tonight with Gabe Gutierrez in Queens, New York.
As Ida's torrential rain pounded New York City, officers frantically tried to reach this flooded basement. But when specialized rescue teams got there, it was too late. 3 people had already drowned.
This storm has now rewritten the map. We used to think flooding was a coastal thing. It's not anymore.
In a city where affordable housing is hard to come by, the storm's aftermath is raising new questions about whether the Northeast is prepared for climate change and whether local officials gave enough warning. The water got all the way up here.
Up to the window.
And in another building in Queens, Danette Rivera was also trapped inside her basement.
Did you ever expect this much water?
Never. Absolutely not. Look at this. It's a disaster.
This is what it looked like outside.
So the water was gushing in?
Gushing in. We were locked in to the basement. There was no way out.
Her son, who was blind, managed to reach through this window and pull her to safety.
When it started to go above my head, I thought I was going to die.
In New York City, 13 people died. In New Jersey, at least 27. 4 are still missing, including 2 college students who witnesses say were swept away by rushing water.
Please pray for them, please. Everybody pray for them.
President Biden now set to tour Manville, New Jersey, tomorrow. Home after home, basement after basement flooded out. Insurance adjusters are expected here over the coming days, but the agonizing cleanup is only just beginning.
A lot of memories here.
Yes, absolutely.
Karen Payer survived the storm in her home, caring for her elderly mother, a quadriplegic who couldn't easily be evacuated by boat.
I look around, sorry, and I don't know where to start. I don't know.
So many families in that same position. And Gabe, there were also so many deaths. And now leaders in New York are facing criticism for not warning residents earlier about the storm.
Yeah, that's right, Tom. The mayor of New York City says he's implementing new severe weather warning systems and new basement evacuation plans. Tom?
All right, Gabe, thank you. And we are tracking that new storm threat to Louisiana for hundreds of thousands there. The crisis only getting worse tonight. Our Vaughn Hilliard is there.
8 days after Ida, 500,000 in Louisiana are still without power. Some communities surrounded by standing water, homes gone.
There's not a person on this body that's not suffering.
Katie Arias' home overtaken by floodwaters, furniture tossed to the mud.
You're drowning and you're reaching up and saying, help me, and no one's coming.
Officials say the total number of destroyed power poles higher than Hurricanes Katrina, Ike, Delta, and Zeta combined. The National Guard now operating a floating bridge to one town completely cut off by floodwaters. These waters and mud with nowhere to go.
The mud just keeps coming and coming and coming, you know.
Concerns also rising about the most vulnerable.
No lights, no water, no hot water, no hot meals or nothing.
Over the weekend, 600 residents evacuated from 8 senior centers after the health department deemed them unfit for ongoing occupancy.
Nobody showed up. Nobody, not one person showed up to come check on us.
The city says 5 are dead.
What we found was unacceptable.
Meanwhile, 7 now dead, and the state attorney general demanding answers after more than 800 nursing home residents were evacuated to this warehouse and left on cots in floodwaters.
People shouldn't be treated like that. You should be held accountable.
But also small miracles. Chained up and trapped under debris, animal rescuers found this pup, Bubbles, who survived for 4 days. Like many here, looking for a new home. Vaughn Hilliard, NBC News, Lafitte, Louisiana.
And on this Labor Day, health officials are concerned that the millions of Americans traveling and gathering in crowds to mark the unofficial end of summer could cause another COVID surge just as a new school year begins. More on that now from Guad Venegas.
Tonight, millions of Americans are flocking to vacation hotspots this holiday weekend. Despite a CDC warning, the unvaccinated should stay close to home.
If people aren't vaccinated, they shouldn't travel.
The TSA reporting 5.3 million passengers crossing airport security since Friday, more than double the number seen at this point during Labor Day weekend last year.
I'm going to Disney World. The COVID numbers in Florida scare me, but I'm vaccinated.
Many making their way to stadiums, music festivals, and beaches across the country. Yet the spread of the virus rages on. The number of reported cases reaching 40 million in the U.S. Now health experts fear the holiday weekend could be another super spreader just as kids are returning to the classroom.
You should especially be cautious about travel if you have children in school or starting school soon, because most cases of transmission are likely to happen during travel, and those could be cases you carry into the classroom.
With COVID already forcing at least 1,400 in-person school closures since the beginning of this school year, recent data from the American Academy of Pediatrics indicates more than 1 in 5 new cases are in children.
The only person I'm worried about is my daughter, who's unvaccinated, obviously, since she's 4.
And with no vaccine available for children 12 and under, parents are doing what they can to protect their kids while keeping them in school.
All right, Guad joins us now. And Guad, we have an update tonight on the vaccine booster shots expected to begin September 20th.
Well, this weekend, Dr. Fauci said approval of the Moderna booster will be delayed past that deadline, and there's no booster approved for Johnson & Johnson, so it's likely Pfizer will be the only booster vaccine available the week of the 20th, Tom.
Guad Venegas first. Guad, thank you. We head overseas now to Afghanistan. With the Taliban claiming total control, there's word 4 Americans were able to get out, but at least 100 more are still trapped there, including some on planes not allowed to take off. One stranded American saying they're being hunted by the Taliban. Here's Molly Hunter.
Tonight, the Taliban claims they've taken the last holdout in Afghanistan, raising their flag in the Panjshir Valley, though the main resistance group denies it. Now, the U.S. State Department says 4 Americans were able to leave Afghanistan over land, saying they're in good condition, not revealing their location. According to the White House, that leaves around 100 Americans still in Afghanistan more than a week after President Biden withdrew U.S. forces. In northern Afghanistan, on the tarmac at Mazar-e-Sharif, Americans are stuck on private charter planes.
6 airplanes with American citizens on them as I speak, also with these interpreters, and the Taliban is holding them hostage for demands right now.
The White House says they're not aware of any hostage situation and are working to get Americans out, but a top Democrat now blasting the Biden administration for Americans still stranded at that airport. Senator Richard Blumenthal saying, "I have been deeply frustrated, even furious at our government's delay and inaction." But the State Department says they have no control over that airfield. Then there's 25-year-old Nasria, an American from California who's pregnant and trapped in Afghanistan. Here speaking to Voice of America.
There's been days where
I think to myself, like, am I going to make it home? Am I going to end up living here? Am I going to end up dying here?
Before U.S. forces withdrew, she scrambled to the airport with her American passport, but the Taliban didn't let her through.
I got gun pointed to my head.
Tonight, she says the Taliban are hunting down Americans.
Now, tens of thousands of vulnerable Afghans were also left behind. International flights are still not taking off from Kabul, and traveling overland is dangerous. Here in Pakistan, the government is really only letting people into the country who have all the right documents or who need serious medical care. Tom?
Molly Hunter with that update from the region. Molly, thank you. In just 60 seconds, the crisis for millions of Americans as unemployment benefits run out. And our TV exclusive, The Accuser, whose allegations landed Bill Cosby in prison, speaking out for the first time since his release.
On September 11, 2001, 60 amateur sailors were at sea filming a reality show on an 18th century replica ship. They were weeks from land and the nearest TV or radio. That morning, a single message was conveyed through their one satellite phone. 4 planes hijacked, 2 towers down, Pentagon attacked, thousands dead. And that was it. Not a single other piece of information for weeks. What was it like to experience 9/11 in isolation? And how would they make sense of the radically different world they returned to? This is just one of the stories in 912, the new podcast series from Amazon Music and Pineapple Street Studios. In each episode of 912, host Dan Taberski tells the stories of characters whose lives would never be the same after September 11th. And through them, we begin to realize that there are new lessons to be learned, and that we just might have enough distance now from 9/11 to make sense of some things we couldn't understand before. Follow 912 wherever you get your podcasts, or you can binge all 7 episodes right now on Amazon Music or with Wondery Plus.
Today, unemployment benefits were either drastically cut or eliminated for more than 10 million Americans. So will the loss of this lifeline push more people back into the workforce, or will the Delta variant keep slowing progress? Here's Stephanie Rule.
Tonight, unemployment benefits are over for 7.5 million Americans. Another 3 million will see their weekly checks cut by $300. It comes as hiring slowed in August, likely due to the surge of the Delta variant. Brooke Whitford delivered groceries when the pandemic started. She scaled back her hours over COVID concerns and a drop in wages. She's been on unemployment since April of last year.
Knowing that this date was coming up, what's that been like for you?
Stressful. That's the one word I can say. Stressful. Put me in kind of a slump, kind of a depression.
Whitford says she's applied for over 150 jobs in the last few months, but so far, no offers.
I don't meet the criteria, or they've already hired somebody.
For every 8 people who lost their unemployment benefits in June, only 1 found a new job. Reasons include the lack of childcare and the growing mismatch between the jobs available and people looking for work.
We've never cut off benefits for this many people all in one fell swoop. Unemployment comes fast, but finding a job can often take a lot of time.
But with a record 10 million jobs now available, many business owners like Joseph Termini hope the end of benefits helps them find much-needed workers. The bakery owner has already begun to see more applicants.
I wouldn't call it a flood. I would say it was more of a trickle. But yes, we did see an uptick in people that were interested.
Tom, nearly $800 billion was spent on federal pandemic unemployment. People used that money for rent, medication, food. Now what we're watching for is how long will it take for people to get jobs? How will they get by without that money? And how will that impact consumer spending? Tom?
Stephanie, thank you. With the spotlight on jobs this Labor Day, imagine working and never getting paid. It's a growing problem called wage theft, especially during rebuilding efforts after disasters. Our Cynthia McFadden started investigating last year after a powerful storm ripped through Iowa.
Last summer, in the midst of the pandemic, a historic storm lashed through Cedar Rapids, Iowa, leaving billions of dollars in damages across the state.
And you can tell how many buildings were damaged.
Yeah, there was another building right there at the corner that got completely destroyed.
Pablo Ramirez hired a group of construction workers from Texas and Mexico to come help. Most of the workers did not speak English. He says he did not ask their immigration status. Ramirez hired the men as a labor broker for Blue Sky, a restoration construction company based in Colorado. Ramirez says he and the workers stayed here at one of the sites they were supposed to rehab. The conditions, deplorable.
They were not rentable.
They were not rentable.
For over 3 weeks, the men say they worked without getting paid by Ramirez or Blue Sky, which had estimated revenues last year of $100 million. By the end of the month, they had run out of food. Royce Peterson is the head of the local carpenters union. In desperation, the workers turned to him for help.
We found out that these 6 workers hadn't eaten in 4 days.
Nothing?
Nothing. I said, go buy them some groceries. Let's get these guys fed.
Even though they weren't union members.
We're out there to fight for the workers against unscrupulous contractors. And no matter who you are, if you're union or not.
When Ramirez told Blue Sky the union was involved, he says they told him to fire the workers, who now had no food, no cash, and no place to live.
This is where the guys stayed. You welcomed the 6.
Yep. This is where they came.
Reverend John Grieve opened his church to the workers who slept among the pews that first night.
How long did it take for you to decide you were going to cook them a meal?
Less than 5 minutes.
You gave them the keys to the church?
Yes, I did.
Literally.
They weren't strangers, they were just people I didn't know.
They asked for full and immediate payment.
Meanwhile, a picket line was set up outside the workers' job site. The demand?
Pay them. Pay them their back wages and pay them for their travel expenses.
Facing mounting backlash, 2 Blue Sky executives flew in, agreeing to pay the workers after a day of negotiations, in exchange for non-disclosure agreements. Wage theft victims are usually low-wage workers, sometimes undocumented, who are often too intimidated to complain. Experts say some companies hide behind labor brokers, claiming they never promised the workers anything. In a statement to NBC News, Blue Sky says their labor broker was the problem. The issue in Cedar Rapids arose because Mr. Ramirez failed to pay the people he personally hired, despite Blue Sky having paid Mr. Ramirez for that same work.
Blue Sky says you're the one who messed this up.
Yeah, they can say whatever they want, but they know the truth.
It's estimated over $15 billion is stolen from workers every year.
It truly is an invisible epidemic. Some of the wealthiest investors in the world are profiting from the work of some of the lowest paid workers.
Investors like Dominus Capital, a New York-based private equity firm, which is the majority owner of Blue Sky. Dominus did not respond to numerous requests for comment, and Blue Sky declined to be interviewed. But Pablo Ramirez, who says because of all of this, he has lost his home, did agree to talk.
Do you feel guilty?
Yes, I feel guilty for bringing my own people here to have them work and not getting paid.
When we contacted Blue Sky, they announced they'd be expanding their existing oversight program to ensure that partners paid workers fairly, accurately, and on time. Meanwhile, we've learned that city officials have Blue Sky under scrutiny in the city of Minneapolis. Tom?
Cynthia, thanks for that. We are back in a moment with incredible footage of a rescue of a little boy lost in the Australian wilderness for more than 3 days. Stay with us. Back now with news of an incredible rescue in Australia where a 3-year-old boy has been missing for 3 days. A helicopter crew finding little AJ, you see him there, who has autism and is nonverbal, sitting by a creek drinking water. More than 130 people assisted in this rescue, which AJ's father called a miracle. Now to our TV exclusive, her allegations of sexual assault sent Bill Cosby to prison. Now, more than 2 months after Cosby's conviction was overturned and he was set free, Andrea Constant is breaking her silence to our Kate Snow.
I was really shocked. Disappointed. What does it say about the American justice system? That it's flawed?
And you can see much more of Kate's interview with Andrea Constant tomorrow on Today and right here on Nightly News. And tributes are pouring in tonight for actor Michael K. Williams, famous for his breakout role as Omar Little on TV's The Wire, one of the series' most memorable characters. Williams also starred in Boardwalk Empire and is Emmy nominated right now for his work on Lovecraft Country. Williams was found dead in his Brooklyn apartment. No cause of death has been released. He was 54 years old. And when we come back, NBC's Al Roker remembers his mentor, Willard Scott, and the lessons and legacy he left behind. Stay with us. Finally, we're saying goodbye to a beloved member of our NBC family. Tonight, Al Roker honors the legacy of his friend and mentor, Willard Scott.
Willard Scott changed my life. And not for the obvious reasons. Oh, sure, he took me under his wing and he helped a young kid wet behind the ears learn how to do television, how to be yourself, how to take knocks when people push you down and you're able to get right back up. And the idea that somebody could be so self-deprecating.
They asked me who my favorite rock star was, and that's exactly what I did. Eddie Weed of VZ Maine.
And yet touch so many was only part of his charm, only part of his secret weapon. His secret weapon was people. He loved people. And guess what? People loved him back. There are those who could say he was corny or he was just downright old-fashioned. And you know what? He was. And if being old-fashioned means that you cherish folks, that you keep them close, that being a great dad and a husband and a grandfather means something to you, then count me in for old-fashioned. Willard told me once, never give up your day job and always be yourself. And I've tried to live those words every day. When people use the term mentor, it's bandied about so easily. To Willard, he wasn't mentoring me.
I want you to.
He was just taking care of me.
At 101 years old, look at that, still has his own hair.
And just like he took care of all those 100-year-olds that people had forgotten, but he celebrated. And that's why I'm not really sad about Willard's passing.
I'll be seeing you.
Oh, don't get me wrong, I'm going to miss him. Miss him every day. But you know what? It was such a great life that spanned the invention of a medium that he conquered, and he did it well.
And our thanks to Al for sharing those memories with us, and our thoughts and prayers with Willard's family tonight. That's Nightly News for this Monday. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Yamas. Have a great night.
Here is what's happening in your world this morning.
Hey everybody, it's Hoda Kotb and Jenna Bush Hager, and we got big news, y'all. Our show is now a podcast.
That's right. You can take us anywhere you go, in your car, to the gym, even just at home on your own couch with a glass of wine.
We like spending time with each other, and now we love that we can spend even more time with you. Are you sick of us yet?
Yeah, don't be, because you can never have to miss a moment of fun, laughs, or friendship.
Yeah, subscribe. Listen to Today with Hoda and Jenna wherever you get your podcasts.